Since Tory MPs decided that this was a contest between Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss, we have had one, I repeat, one opinion poll of the people who will actually have a vote. That is Conservative members. Now, sure, that poll put Liz Truss well ahead. Once you took out the 1 in 5 or so who didn't express a view, she was on 62%, well ahead of the 50% that's required. But that poll is now nearly a fortnight old. We've had a few other straws in the wind about the views of Tory members. One which came out yesterday in the Sun Telegraph, which was a poll of Conservative councillors, who of course are one section of the membership and perhaps a particular section of membership. But according to that poll, Rishi Sunak 31, Liz Truss 31, Rishi Sunak 29, over 30% saying they didn't know. Now, if indeed Liz Truss is meant to be a very long way ahead, that poll seemed at least to have a rather surprisingly narrow lead for Liz Truss. The other clue we've got, and it certainly doesn't negate the idea that Liz Truss is ahead, but if you actually look what happened when you asked people which of the two did best in the BBC debate a week ago now, yes, Liz Truss was ahead, but she wasn't ahead by as much as she was in that original leadership poll. So I just simply say we perhaps don't know quite as much, quite as confidently as everybody is asserting, given particularly that the poll is now nearly 2 weeks old. But yes, Liz Truss is certainly the favourite, and I can certainly point you to some of the patterns in the polling about who backs Liz Truss as opposed to who backs Rishi Sunak, such as, for example, the fact that Liz Truss is the more popular amongst the Leave voters, Rishi Sunak amongst the Remain voters, but of course there are far more Leave voters than Remain voters amongst Conservative members. Equally, interestingly, according to the poll of Tory councillors yesterday, people who voted for Jeremy Hunt 3 years ago have Rishi Sunak ahead, whereas those who voted for Boris Johnson 3 years ago have Liz Truss ahead. And again, of course, the Boris Johnson camp is a much bigger one. So certainly if you look at the patterns of some of the voting, it certainly suggests that Liz Truss ought to be ahead. But let's just not overstretch ourselves in a race which certainly has seen some fairly radical and bold proposals made by both candidates, both of whom have been pretty much attacking each other pretty solidly over the last 2 weeks. We certainly don't know what impact, if any, that has had on the Tory membership as a whole.